The sun was just beginning to dip behind the trees, casting long shadows across my sprawling estate when I noticed the ominous bright red envelope wedged under my front door. My heart sank slightly as I saw the familiar HOA logo stamped on it. Another fine, another threat. And this time, the note was particularly aggressive. Immediate payment required or law enforcement will be notified. I sighed. I'd been through this before. The HOA's so-called Karen, a woman named Linda Hargrave, had made it her personal mission to micromanage every inch of my property. From the way my hedges were trimmed to the color of my mailbox, she found fault in everything. But this time, I was ready to teach her a lesson she wouldn't forget. Ignoring the fine, I went about my day as usual. My wife, Emily, and I hosted a quiet afternoon barbecue for the kids and neighbors. But as the sun set, the distant wail of sirens began piercing the calm. Linda had called 911. She reported an urgent disturbance at my property, claiming that I was refusing to comply with the HOA's demands. Within minutes, black SUVs rolled onto my driveway. Officers in standard-issue uniforms approached the gate, clipboards in hand. But they were met with something they hadn't anticipated. "Ma'am, are you the homeowner?" one of them asked as I opened the door, casually holding my glass of iced tea. "Yes," I said. "And you are?" Before they could answer, my brother, a federal agent from the DEA, emerged from behind a column, followed by my cousin, who served in the FBI, and my uncle, a decorated Secret Service operative. The officers froze. Their training had prepared them for many things, but this, not at all. "I believe she's trying to report a minor civil dispute as a criminal matter," my cousin said calmly, adjusting his sunglasses. "But since we're all federal personnel, maybe you'd like to step back and reassess?" The atmosphere shifted immediately. Linda, who had been standing on the sidewalk with her phone raised, suddenly realized her mistake. Her face turned pale as my family members introduced themselves, each with the precise tone that said, "We don't play games." "We'll handle this, officer," my uncle said firmly. "No further action is required on your part." The officers nodded, quickly retreating from the property. Linda tried to muster her usual confidence. "This is just an HOA matter. You can't." "You ignored my notice," I interrupted, stepping closer. "And instead of resolving it civilly, you escalated it to law enforcement. Now, thanks to my family's background, that little stunt will have consequences." By the time she realized the scope of her error, my husband, another former federal agent, had already begun documenting everything for a civil complaint. Within 24 hours, Linda was facing a formal inquiry, and the HOA's board had to answer for her reckless actions. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. No one dared interfere with me or my property again. Even more satisfying, Linda's calls to harass me ended completely. I could see her from my window, pacing and muttering to herself, fully aware that she had underestimated the power of a family who, collectively, could handle any emergency she tried to create. That night, as I sat on my porch watching the stars, Emily handed me a glass of wine. "You know," she said with a sly grin, "it's hard to pick fights when your opponent doesn't know who they're really messing with." I raised my glass. "And that's why we never pay fines from people named Karen." The HOA Karen saga was far from over, but one thing was certain. She had just learned the hard way that sometimes, ignoring a petty fine isn't negligence, it's strategy. And with my family on my side, there was no HOA fine in the world that could intimidate me.